Grand Canyon is the most famous canyon in the world. It is a place of incredible power. In this video, we will dive into the atmosphere of Wild West, get know about the life of the Indians, the very first inhabitants of America. After all, they lived here many years ago. Visit the Cowboy Ranch, enjoy extreme views from the most famous observation deck above the cliff Skywalk, tell the history of the Grand Canyon formation, share our experience of visiting Canyon, and tell you about our adventure on the way back, which absolutely didn't fit into our plans. So let's get started! In the childhood, I watched documentaries on channels like National Geographic and Discovery about the construction of an amazing viewpoint skywalk on the Grand Canyon. These documentaries told about how difficult it was to build this unusual observation deck and to serve it in an appropriate way. I thought how impressive this horseshoe viewpoint looks. I wish I could visit it someday. Walk on its glass bottom and observe those marvelous views of the Grand Canyon, although it seemed to be something unreal at that moment. But my husband and I were lucky to visit this place and fulfill the childhood dream. This story tells that dreams come true, even the very incredible ones. Just never stop dreaming, even when you're grown up. So let's get acquainted with the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon is located on the Colorado Plateau in Arizona State, USA, 200 kilometers from Las Vegas. The canyon is carved by the Colorado River along the marvelous gorges. The canyon is 446 kilometers long, maximum 29 kilometers wide, and 1,857 meters deep. How was the most famous canyon in the world actually formed? The Grand Canyon is one of the most unusual geological formations of our planet. It contains traces of 4 geological eras of the Earth. Various rocks and caves keep very rich biological, geological, and archaeological material. The canyon is considered to be one of the best examples of erosion, the destruction of the rocks by the surface water flows. Originally, the Colorado River flowed by the flat land, but as a result of Earth's crust movement, about 65 million years ago, the Colorado Plateau rose. Consequently, the angle of Colorado River inclination was changed, which caused the increase of the river speed and its ability to wash away the rocks on its way. This is how the Grand Canyon was formed. It happened about 5 or 6 million years ago. The canyon still becomes deeper as the erosion process goes on. The Aborigines of America, Indians, knew about the Grand Canyon thousands of years ago. Cave paintings, which were made by the Indians about 3,000 years ago, proved the first signs of life in the canyon. Indians lived in the caves, which were carved right into the canyon. In the 16th century, a Spanish group found the Grand Canyon while searching the gold. The first scientific expedition to the Grand Canyon was held in 1869. University professor John Wesley Powell researched and described the canyon during this expedition. Once, the former American president Theodore Roosevelt appreciated the beauty of the Grand Canyon. He liked to go hunting there, and the canyon became popular very quickly. Since 1979, the Grand Canyon has been included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. Can you imagine, in 2013, the famous American wire walker Nicholas Valenda crossed the Grand Canyon along a tightrope without any safety cables? It is not possible to drive along the Grand Canyon by car on your own, like we used to think before our visit. Only the guided bus tour has to be taken. There is a large car parking, helicopter spot and small airport, Grand Canyon West Airport, at the entrance to the park. The helicopter excursion can be taken directly here. Visitor Center, where you can buy the tickets for the guided bus tour and of course some souvenirs. The guided bus tour makes 3 stops. The first stop is Skywalk viewpoint. The second stop is Guano Point, panoramic viewpoint to the canyon and Colorado River. The third stop is Ranch of the Indigenous American Indians Wallaby. Guided tourist buses run between the stops all day long, so it is possible to go to the next stop actually at any time, or on the contrary, stay longer, for example in order to have lunch in one of the local cafes with a gorgeous view to the canyon. There are lots of viewpoints on the territory of the Grand Canyon Park in its different parts. But the most famous and the most popular one is the Skywalk viewpoint with a glass bottom. The Skywalk hangs over a 1,200-meter canyon abyss and provides visitors with an incredible experience and breathtaking views. This viewpoint is also often called horseshoe because of its shape. The Skywalk was opened in March 2007. To visit this viewpoint, it is necessary to pass the security check and leave all the private stuff like camera, mobile phones, etc. in the special lockers. Probably such measures were taken in order to avoid the long lines and give the opportunity to the visitors to feel the present moment during the visit and enjoy amazing views to the canyon, instead of a rush while taking photos. To pass the observation deck with a glass bottom at a height around 1,200 meters is an incredible feeling. The deep mighty canyon is under your feet and beautiful eagles fly high around you. Visit to the Skywalk viewpoint was actually the reason of our trip to the Grand Canyon. The kid's dream came true. There is a little exhibition at the exit from the observation deck which describes the living of the local Indians. Near the building of Skywalk viewpoint, we saw ancient wigwams where once used to live the local Indians. Guano Point is the second tourist stop of the West Grand Canyon Park, which opens marvelous views to the canyon and Colorado River flowing along. On the territory of the Grand Canyon, fences are installed almost everywhere. You cannot come close to the cliff. There are guards everywhere. They constantly make sure that visitors follow the rules. But Guano Point is a little bit different. There is a short trail without any fences where you can walk alone and feel the powerful beauty of the canyon, admire amazing views to the canyon and flowing like a snake Colorado River, which actually created this legendary masterpiece, the Grand Canyon. There is a historical place near the Guano Point observation trail, the remains of the ancient cable car station, which once ran across the canyon at 2,300-meter height and helped the miners to get the mineral resources out of the caves. And during the 1930s, a boater passing through the canyon discovered a cave, which later was found to be rich with guano, bed droppings. This material was rich with nitrogen and useful as fertilizer. The U.S. Guano Corporation had purchased the mining rights in 1957 and began to construct the tramway to extract the guano from the mine. The use of cable cars for both the guano and miners was until early 1960s. A few months later, the cable was damaged by an Air Force jet's tail and never reopened. The Cablehead House remains as well as some remnants at the cave and is now a tourist destination at Grand Canyon West. The ranch of the indigenous American Indians, Wallapai, is a very exciting village. It is a great place for a special photo session. Just don't forget to put on the checked shirts and jeans to fit the thematic background. As we got into the Grand Canyon Park closer to midday time, it was extremely hot there. It was the end of April. Everywhere is the desert, no shadow. So be ready to walk in the park under the bright burning sun. We highly recommend you to cover your head with a cap, put on light long-sleeved clothes to avoid sunburn, very comfortable shoes as you will have to climb the rocky area. Take some snacks and water with you. Looking back on our experience, we recommend spending at least one day in the Grand Canyon Park. But if you have more time and opportunity, it is better to stay for 2 days there, with one night at one of the hotels nearby. For example, on the first day, you could take this observation-guided bus tour to the best viewpoints along the route. Next day, you could maybe take a helicopter excursion around the canyon and ride the speedboat along the Colorado River. These are the best ways to explore the Grand Canyon. We spent half day in the Grand Canyon Park, left Las Vegas in the morning, had a stop near the Hoover Dam. At midday we were in the Grand Canyon Park and returned back to Los Angeles at night. Frankly speaking, the road from the Grand Canyon back to Los Angeles was rather long, and it was a kind of a crazy decision, sometimes even a challenge for us, as there were some mountainous parts of the road with reduced visibility. What road incident happened to us on our way back to Los Angeles? It was coming to the night. We were already close to Los Angeles. We enjoyed the blinding lights of the night city, just several miles left to our hotel. But suddenly, we heard some strange noise out of our rental car. As we moved along the highway and there was no place to stop and check the car, we kept on driving a little bit slower on the far right lane of the highway, hoping to get to the hotel and check the car there. Out of nowhere appeared the police car with a loud siren. We got slightly worried about that. It turned out there is a speed minimum limit even on that far right lane. You must drive at least 75 miles per hour. Otherwise, you need to leave the highway and drive along the alternative road, which is usually parallel to the highway. After we had left the highway and moved to the alternative road, another policeman stopped to check if everything was fine with us and helped us to find the reason for the strange noise from the car. It was a screw stuck in the car tire. We tried somehow little by little to come to our hotel by this car, but the tire was absolutely damaged on our way later, and we couldn't move further. We called the insurance company by the telephone number in our rental car insurance policy. Fortunately, this case was included in the insured accidents. We had two options: to wait for several hours till someone from the insurance company would evacuate our car, or to change on our own the damaged tire into the space-saving tire, which was in the car under the baggage hold. It was late night. We dreamt about coming to our hotel as soon as possible, so we decided to act on our own, change the tire. The next day in the morning, we went to the closest representative office of our rental company and changed the car into another one. We didn't have any experience in contacting insurance company abroad till this case. Of course, it was an annoying situation for us, but it was a kind of our experience, although not a pleasant one. The most important thing in this case is not to rush and act by the instructions. The next day, after the change of the car, we headed to the beach musical festival Back to the Beach, which was actually the reason for our trip to the West Coast. We told you about it in our previous video about Los Angeles. This was our trip to the West Coast of America. We were very impressed by the places we saw during this trip. This journey has broadened our horizons. We were impressed by the multiculturality of America, kind, lovely local people we met on our way. We wish we could come here again and again to open new, interesting, beautiful places and experience fantastic events. We hope to explore the northwest of America in the near future. San Francisco, Silicon Valley, the picturesque road of Big Sur Bay, national parks of Sequoia and Yosemite are the top places on our travel wish list. More details about the Grand Canyon you can find on our website worldwithatwist.com. Don't forget to click the thumb button, comment, share the video if you like it, and subscribe to our channel if you want to get such short, informative overviews about the most interesting places of our planet. World with a Twist. Let's discover the world together!